And I believe you also started up while you were in Masters Union.
Yeah.
So tell us more about that.
So I had exited Infido. Now continuing the story from there, right? I mean, my whole reason for leaving and exiting was the fact that I could start up. So I was very clear in my head from day one that I want to start up. And one of the problems that I think I was really passionate about was in the space of cybersecurity, where I felt like cybersecurity was underrated, but in fact was the biggest problem. And so
was it hard to balance all the startup work with your studies and grades, etc.?
people definitely it is difficult. It's not easy, but it's definitely doable. That's the thing, right? And then people, everything is possible, and
Enough
that's
hours,
how it
enough
works.
hours in the day.
It's about you figuring it out, right? So that's what I think one of my biggest learnings, or a skill, I would say skill set, that I took away from Masters Union was the fact that I was juggling between everything, right? And again, no matter what the result, that effort pays on a lot in the end. And of course, we talk about that, but how you actually being able to manage everything shows and helps a lot in the kind of skill set you would want to eventually have if you're an employer, or if you're, let's say, you want to start up as well. Those are the traits that you.
So as you were working on your startup during Masters Union, how far, were you able to bring it in terms of customers, product, sales, etc.?
Yeah. So interestingly, what we ended up doing. So by the way, the cybersecurity space is the deep tech space, right? Where there's actually years of R&D that's required to build any product for that matter. Unlike SaaS that had previously operated. Also, it was the first time that I was in the deep tech space as well. So we realized that it cannot be like a proper, just a very temporary mock-up that we can create, or maybe the platform that we can full-fledged create. So what we ended up doing was doing experiments, micro experiments there, where we actually built certain parts of the product, somehow pieced it together and tested it actually with clients. So government of India was actually a client. I can't name them, but we tested it out over there. We developed took it to a MVP stage with all the resources that we could pull through. We're bootstrapping completely, but we got an incubation offer from IIT Bombay's incubation. We actually about $250,000 is what we got worth of commits from very good people. But what I realized was the fact that from a revenue cycle, and again, being the business mindset that comes in, it'll take me a lot of time before revenue starts kicking in. And apart from that, there were also certain personal things that were going on in my life, which is why, again, the question about how you take a decision, now vis-a-vis then, is when I decided that I would probably become an advisor in the company. Company is great, the space is great, the founder is great, founders are great. I think it was a testament with whatever we had done and achieved. But that's when I decided to become an advisor, and that's how I exited just about a few months ago. Not exited as I'm going to be an advisor, but the company is going great. It's just going to be a time-taking process.
Yeah.
As I said, unlike SaaS, the revenue cycle for deep tech is very large, and specifically from an investment perspective as well. Pratap, when I was doing fundraising as well, not a lot of investors understand, deep tech, specifically cybersecurity in that.
Correct.
So even from that perspective, it was important, and they expected us to make good amount of revenue before they even funded.
So what, as you were doing your startup during your college, your MBA experience, what were some of the learnings you had that perhaps others who are not doing a startup simultaneously did not?
So I think there's a lot of difference. I'll be very honest with you. There's a stark difference in the kind of skill set that you get, which is tangible and intangible both. In this case, it's very important when you're a founder, right? You identify opportunities and build something from scratch. Now, that's not something that everybody, like with somebody who's got resources and constraints, like as I was telling you before, right? When you operate with constraints, when you operate with, let's say, an horizon of building something of value from zero, you end up learning how to sell, you end up learning how to market, you learning how to code, literally, making up mock-ups and all of that. So you get such a diverse set of skill set, which is very good for connecting the dots. And connecting the dots is all, it's all about that at the end of the day, whether you want to start up, whether you want a job, every single place. Unlike, let's say, people who are just with the mindset of saying that, hey, you know what, this is what's given to me, this is the path that I've thought about, and this is what I'm going to do, and very fixated with that. So having that flexibility, that agility, being street smart to be able to take some certain decisions, right? Taking risk as an appetite, in the process learning how to sell, in the process learning how to do an elevator pitch, in the process learning how to talk to partners
And
at
apply
venture
whatever
firms.
you've learned in class
Exactly.
actually to a real world scenario. You
Exactly.
don't have to wait 2 years till you find a job and then you start applying. You can apply in the evening.
Exactly.
Whatever you learn in the morning.
Exactly. So I think that's exactly what was happening here as well, right? Like we had, in apart from my venture as well, as part of the innovation lab, we had 2 other ventures that as well that were getting incubated. Both of them now have successfully doing,
Fundraiser.
they've already fundraised and stuff. But this is literally what was happening, right? We had their prototype being tested in the classroom of 50, 60 people, everybody engaged, everybody trying out what
So
they
did
were
the
doing.
other students feel FOMO? Like, we are not doing this?
It's an immediate validation, brother. Imagine, like, as entrepreneurs, you want initial, set of partners, or you call them design partners, right?
Correct.
Imagine you're getting them like a set of so many smart people in the classroom wanting to help you grow,
Correct.
right? I think that is exactly what
That's
happened.
60 first customers, that's 60 first
Yeah.
employees, that's 60 first.
Exactly. You're like, okay, this is the marketing campaign that we learned in the marketing class. Let's come up with a campaign for ourselves.
Okay.
Do it next week itself.
Got
So it's immediate learn to execution, right?
Mm.
And that's the cycle you want to be reducing as much as possible,
Got it.
even in the
Awesome.
general world when you're applying, or generally when you're
Got it.
doing
So
that.
now let's again shift gears, right? So after your master's union experience, after your, what was the name of the company? That you
Cypherix.
Cypherix. After your Cypherix experience, I know you decided not to continue with it. You decided to become an advisor there. How did you decide to then sort of start looking for jobs? I mean, you have had such a entrepreneurial journey so far. Why the shift now? How
Yeah.
did Google happen?
That's true. So I actually didn't plan to, join Google. Wasn't in my shortlist as well, but the opportunity was an inbound. Pratham. So I actually, the kind of the way I operate and the way I was, and I was operating and the way I was taking decisions was where I actually had to just pick the company I wanted to reach out to, and then reach out and then maybe have a conversation, like it, take ahead the offer. And by that time, I had also over the last 7-8 years, Pratham, I've built a network which has been very consciously built, where I wanted to explore opportunities and obviously tell recruiters. Like even before I came to MU, I had offers. I had Gartner and LinkedIn reach out to me. Big companies, they were not even in my consideration. Startups anyway were anyway there, but Google came as an inbound for me because of my network, and obviously people knew now that I was looking out. Until this time, they were holding themselves back to even happen. But that's how the recruiter reached out, and then the kind of opportunity that came out with them, like a very interesting kind of role that I'm getting. I think that was something that.
So what's the role?
So right now I'm going to be joining I've just joined the growth team, and growth team essentially what they do is the highest growing startups in the UK and Ireland region. So I've been allocated the territory of UK and Ireland, English speaking country. So over there, the highest growing startups, helping them grow 10x. So literally with a Google suite of products, right from AdWords to YouTube, display, all of that, I will be the point of contact for CMOs and CEOs and help them strategize and grow their business 10x.
Got it.
So that sounded like an interesting opportunity for me to get the variables that I told you was there.
So essentially, if I want to score a similar role at Google, what I hear you suggesting essentially is that you spend time building your network, you spend time helping other people, you spend time perhaps doing your own startup and building some skill sets, building that respect in your
That's
community.
absolutely right.
And then eventually, these kind of offers will come inbound to you rather than you having to cold call or cold
Exactly.
email.
And I'll tell you, Pratham, very, very interesting. The other day, I think this is a couple of months back, you and I were chatting when, I was actively fundraising. And something that you told me, which I resonated with, was you said the best investors find you. You remember that?
Yeah, of course.
So, and that's something that I also completely resonate with, because before I started fundraising, Pratham, I had 40 inbounds, right? My only reason of telling you that number is to tell you that it's not the other way around where people are thinking the way it is. It's not about you applying. You do great work. It all compounds, and the best opportunities reach you. That's exactly what happened. So you have to really build, actively ensure that you're compounding your network, and you give. That's exactly another point that you brought out, which I wanted to really talk about, which is essentially you don't expect anything in return for all the effort that you're putting in. You know, whether it's building your network, whether it's studying in B school, whether it is helping the other person who you don't maybe know, that 1 or 2 minutes that you can take out and spare, you have no idea how that can
It'll come back and benefit you in
and the
ways
most unexpected places. That's the whole point, right? Like the least places.
So how
will
did
be
this
like
recruiter
60.
find you?
Oh, I think so. I actually used to hang out a lot in, as I was handling the EMEA territory and APAC territory, I was already known in the HR tech space as well, right? Like, as I said, I was dealing with CHROs and HR
Enterprise sales.
recruiters and all that.
Oh, so the Google role came because of your sales experience, essentially.
Which was, I kind of now, I mean, I wouldn't say it directly that,
Yeah,
but kind of, I mean, if I think
dots
about
connect,
it, maybe I think maybe that's the reason as well. Because of the kind of networking that I did, networking as in helping the community.
Correct.
Small example, back in the COVID days,